Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Good day. How big can you think? How big do you think? That's what we're going to talk about today. Sorry. Silly distractions of life. The never-ending dinging and chiming and vibrating of our phones. I'm Dave. This is Drive Time. And the topic today is how big do you think? And I think this is a fascinating topic, and I was so excited to make this video. I have been traveling for the last 6 days. I drove from Tampa, Florida to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. It was 1,100 miles. It's a 20-hour drive. And I got to tell you, I saw some amazing things. It was a wonderful ride, up and back. Which got me thinking about some of the questions that people ask in regards to how do you grow your business? How do you change your business? How do you manage your business? How do you manage to grow your business? How do you manage to change your business? I watch other YouTubers and I listen closely at the terrible advice that they provide when they tell people that you can't grow your business and you can't turn thrifting and buying clothes and selling on eBay into a bigger business. Bigger, I say bigger. You're always just going to be, one person. You're going to be like me. Look at me. Look how happy I am. I'm just one guy working out of my house. Well, let's fix my microphone. Being one person working out of your house is how I got started. I started as one guy working out of my house. But my goal was never to be one person working out of my house. When I first started, my goal was I wanted to make money. I wanted to make more money. And as I started making money, I realized if I stepped outside and I tripped over a parking curb and I hit my noggin, what would happen? What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen next week? How long is it going to take for my noggin to get better? Do I have enough money to survive? What's going to happen to my family? So it was that moment that I decided, well, I think with a little more effort, I could hire a couple of people and it'd feel a little different. I'd give up some of the money I was making to strengthen the foundation of the business that I had started. And that's what I did. No two ways about it. It was actually very, very simple. And for all the YouTubers out there that don't believe it can be done, you know why they don't believe it? Because they couldn't do it. Because they don't understand how to do it. And for people to provide information about something that they've never done, it's beyond me. I gotta be honest. I'm a little bitter about the whole thing. That YouTubers continue to spout off what can and cannot be done when they're one person working out of their house, or they're posting numbers on eBay accounts and Amazon accounts, and they're not accounts that they own. They know the person or they work for the person. They're just simply not their accounts. So they're some 0.1% of a partner that they're making less than most people making just buying and selling clothes on eBay. But you know, if you could be a percentage partner in a business and you got some stability, there's a growth opportunity, it's not so bad. You can always see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I get off track a little bit, but the basic idea, how big can you think? How big do you think? So when you think small, small things abound. When you think big, big things don't always come, now do they? You can think as big as you want. You got to have a big thought that turns into a big idea, that turns into a big plan. Then you're going to have a big old POA, big old plan of action. And then you've got to have a way to execute that plan. That is the basic structure to get started. Right now, everything is small. You buy small, you sell small, you stay small. You buy a little more, you invest a little more. Everything takes an investment. And each time you can increase your investment, you increase the return on your investment. And it saddens me when I look at, and I'm going to say a terrible word here, some of these moronic YouTubers, as I'm getting extremely annoyed with some of the crass ways that they're slinging daggers. Like, none of them have any business mentioning me. I don't mention any of them because, frankly, it's not really worth my time. For me to have to break down one of these morons' numbers just to prove to a few thousand people that are watching me that their big favorite YouTubers full of garbage. One of them actually asked the most important question I've heard anybody ask of me. But I've already answered that question. Why would I take the time to make videos if I make so much money? Well, I've already answered that question, but I'll answer it again. I started making these videos for my kids. Because, again, I don't do this for the money. I don't do this to sell anything. I have nothing to sell. And practically, I'm not even sure that the information that I talk about or the stories have any value whatsoever to anyone except me. But I do appreciate your emails, Aaron, by the way. I do enjoy so much hearing about everyone else's life. I love the long emails. So on my trip that I was just on, I got the privilege of spending time in some of the smallest towns that I'm not even sure most people know exist. Very, very small towns. And I love to eat in the diners. And the diner that I had lunch in, I was in Coon Creek, Iowa. That may or may not be the name of the town. But you could probably figure out where I was at one moment if you really wanted to know. And my server in there, very nice. She had been a server for 27 years in a diner. In that diner. And the diner that she worked in before that one, she had been a server in for 27 years. And it went out of business. And she told me that it was the hardest thing that she had ever had to do was to find another job. I'm not sure anybody watching, including myself, can even understand what that would be like. She was the nicest lady. And I enjoyed my lunch very much. I enjoy the little country cooking diners. And I just buzzed through that town on my way to the next very small town. But it's interesting to see how these very small towns function. There are no thrift stores. There is no Goodwill. There are no jobs. There's very little business in these towns. It's interesting, the people that live in these towns, now granted this was a very small town and I was probably just an hour outside of Cedar Rapids. But it's amazing how it's like stepping back in time. It was a complete time warp. How these towns survive. Because everybody that lives there, they just drive into the big city. That's what she told me. Oh, the big cities changed everything. I said, yes, those big cities, they do cause us quite a few problems, don't they? There was no point to my story other than I do so enjoy hearing about everyone's lives. It's fascinating that she's been a server longer than I've been alive in 2 diners. She's had 2 jobs in a lifetime. That's just amazing to me. I know people that can't keep a job for more than a week, and they'll actually put all that on a resume. I get those resumes sometimes, and I'm like, you got like 3 pages of work history here. Well, yeah, I'd like you to know all the experience I've got. Well, working someplace for a month, I wouldn't consider that experience. So if I could give you a bit of advice, you should probably limit your resume down to at least 2 pages instead of 3. Make it light reading. So that's what I was doing this week. I was traveling around, broadening my horizons, learning to think bigger. Bigger than anything that I do now. It's just like you and everyone else. Sometimes, whether it's me or you or everyone else, you get caught up in the here and the now. And I circle back to when people tell you you can't or it's not possible, sometimes they're referring to their own limitations, not yours. Now, if whoever that person may be or wherever that advice is coming from, if they actually have some experience on the topic or the subject, and they know emphatically this cannot be done because it is not physically possible, and they provide you with some information that says, unless you are Superman, you cannot bend a piece of steel with your hands. So if you want to go about wasting your time and trying, so that's a different story, I say. Everyone's measure of success is different. And success may just be you're happy with who you are and you're happy with what you have. But I'll always ask you the next question. You're happy with what you have because have you ever had any more? Have you ever been able to have more? Having more and not being able to afford it, that's a horrible feeling. And when I hear people go, man, I'm really happy with what I have. I would never buy a big house or an expensive car. What those words are to me, you've never had the money to do those things. And it doesn't just take the money to do that thing. It takes an exponential amount of reoccurring income to have those things. Like a guy said to me, man, Dave, why would you spend $100,000 on a car? If I had $100,000, I wouldn't buy a car. I'd buy a house. And I'm sure you would. And that does make perfectly good sense, that if you had $100,000. But if you only have $100,000, I wouldn't recommend buying a car either. So exponentially, you have to understand what it actually takes. And I do know people that have little money, and they went and invested a lot of it into something that they could barely afford. And typically, it doesn't work out well in the end for you when you do that, because you're really living beyond your means. And I've never once tried to explain or pointed out or got into when people are living beyond their means. Because people do that. What you want to do is work to make a little more money. And you can continue growing your life or growing your business. If you're not in business and you watch my videos to hear my crazy stories, I do have some. The goal of my life is not as interesting as you might think. The goal of my life is to empower my children with the ability to have more choices in life than I ever had. Then my goal is to empower them to increase my family's net worth exponentially. The net worth that's generated over generations of family members. That's how you build net worth. There are a few people out there that have gone from rags to riches and started from nothing and made it. But let's talk about some that people think started with nothing. Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg's a very rich, $20-30 billion guy, owns Facebook. We all know that. Very few people seem to know that Mark's parents were rich. The high school that Mark Zuckerberg went to was a private high school that cost $57,000 a year. And you learn that from reading books about Mark Zuckerberg. Because another annoyance of mine is when people go, you know, I know plenty of people that started with nothing. Bill Gates. Oh, really? Bill Gates started with nothing? Huh, yeah. Apparently you haven't read the same books about Bill Gates I have, because Bill Gates' parents were also incredibly wealthy. So before people, friends of yours, acquaintances, start talking about things that they possibly have no idea about, you should do a little fact checking before you believe any of them. You know, it's funny how I make jokes about, you know, the things that are on the internet that we believe, but you know, the crazy thing is there's very few viable facts on the internet. Almost everything's editable and changeable. The internet is a big hodgepodge of unreliable, misguided information. And you're right, there are people out there that all they want to do is try to sell you, hook you up, get you on a subscription, reoccurring employment plan, something, just trying to get everybody's money. Pretending to know something that nobody else knows. There's very little of that that's actually real, that could turn into something that could cause somebody some secret way to make money. There's no secrets. Go buy a book if you want to and read it by credible source of information. Buy books from a multitude of authors that have, PhD in their name, instead of a few other choice letters that annoy me. And it's sad. Again, I'm really hung up on the YouTube community right now because over the last 6 days I spent more time than normal watching some of them because I've gotten a lot of messages from the few thousand subscribers that watch me asking me what I think. And if you're questioning it, let's just say you're right, or you wouldn't be questioning it. It doesn't matter whether it's about a YouTuber, you see something on TV, you read something in the news. You have the God-given right to question everything around you. And if something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. I don't think it takes me to tell anybody that I think somebody's fibbing about their income or living beyond their means or just providing bogus information about what they're doing and how they're doing it. There's a lot of YouTubers who are living off YouTube. I mean, these people make thousands and thousands of dollars a month. As I started paying attention to some of these resellers a little closely, it looks like they make more money on YouTube than they do reselling. But, whatever viable, realistic information they can provide, or we just watch them for the entertainment purposes of it, because some of them are pretty amusing. The rants and the raves and I get a chuckle when I listen to one of them talk about things that they have no idea, and they're just talking about things they couldn't possibly fathom. It's not possible to thrift your way to millions. All these guys talking about millions of dollars. Most of these people are lucky they make $20,000 a year. Well, you can thrift your way to millions. And, the hot topic right now is that TV show on Netflix called Girl Boss. She thrifted her way to millions, and you can too. It only takes doubt to destroy trust. It does not take fact to destroy trust. Just doubt. And when you're doubting, there's probably a reason. I don't spend too much time giving any credit because there's no credit due. And if I were you, I would concentrate on the things that are important and matter. And if you take anything away from anything anybody says, if you learn one thing or something makes a difference to you, you've done good that day. You've done good. That's all I can say. I try to learn something new every day. And I did. I learned something new today. It took 6 days for me to learn how to think a little bit bigger than what I do. Just when I think, man, I'm a know-it-all. I learned something today and I'm like, I don't know what I thought I knew. I'm Dave. I will see you soon.